Hello, and thank you for joining me here on So Stitch Hex. Today, I'm going to be talking about anger. Why? Well, it was inspired by a Facebook post that I saw in a group where the person was talking about they wanted help because they were just so angry. They were just so angry, and they were saying they were thinking of just becoming a Satanist and doing whatever it was they have misconstrued that Satanists are. They're just these hateful people is what they seem to think. And everyone tried to correct them on that front, whereas I was like, okay, that misconception can be fixed, but the real problem is their anger. Because they're really angry and they don't know what to do, and some people are just like, breathe and release, and it's like, that's not going to help someone who's actively angry and on social media. Like, I'll post stuff on social media. I love to do that, especially if you don't list anyone that's going on, and when people think you're talking about them and you're not. That's kind of funny to me. I don't know. I like that. That's just ridiculous. Because sometimes it happens, and I'll be talking about someone else, but someone else has done something similar. I just didn't know because, I didn't care, and so then they'll connect the two, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Cool. Block. I like the block button. I use it on Reddit. That's a great place to use it. Well, this person was really angry, and I wanted to talk about what to do. So my suggestion was because they're in the heat of the moment, right? They're just super, super mad, and they just hate everything. I told them to write a letter. That is one of my favorite things to do. If I'm really upset, I write a letter. Because as I write the letter, I calm down, and I can list things that I would normally just take for granted, or things when I'm really, really depressed. I'll use a letter to remind me of all the things that I've done or haven't got to do that bring my life joy, and that I would miss out on if I did something drastic. When I'm angry, I write all the things that make me mad. I just list them down. I get them out. I just vent. It also works if you do it in prayer, because God, Goddess, whatever you want to talk to, whoever you want to talk to, they're there for you. They're supposed to be. If they're not, you need a new one. Just saying. But they're like your friends. And you can go vent to them and just pour all of the things out. And my idea is to just empty out all your anger out into the paper, out into prayer, and vent. Because once it's out, if you feel like you're truly being heard, then you feel better, and the anger will subside. And then from there, especially if you have it written down, you can look at it and take the words, and you can recycle the language later for poetry, for songs, inspiration for art, for spell work, if that's what you're into. I've used language from every time I'm talking. Every time, without a fail. I have to yawn. I've used recycled language for poetry and for spell work so often, because sometimes you just get that beautiful line that's just this is why I like my language. This is one of the reasons why. Not because we have 20 words that mean the same thing and are spelled differently. But it gives you the opportunity to reflect on your emotions. And if you've spoken it, there's that. You can't reflect on it on physical paper, which is why I like to write my prayers or record them on an audio device and go back later to transcribe them. But you give yourself the opportunity to review what you feel, review what you've said, because you do. I stand by what I say. Sometimes I word it wrong and I get mad because I'm I love language, but I don't use it well. I'll get words tangled up and I won't be able to explain what I meant, and it's okay, so you didn't hear me. And then one of the words that I'll say, I'll have some connotation that I won't recognize, and it'll get flip-flopped in a conversation when someone tells it to someone else, and I'm no. Saying I'm uncomfortable going to certain events, getting construed as I'm not invited to those events. Not the same thing, but if you write it down, you can really like feel what you're feeling. And once it's out and you've had that release, you can think about it in a more logical way. And I'm not against curse work, protection work, prevention. Do what you need to do and take your words and analyze them. See how you feel, see what happened, and turn it back around. Turn it so that the person who hurt you feels the pain you felt. Or just make it, like, write the spell. Do the spell work, like, prep everything you need, and then decide if you want to. I worked on a spell for, like, a year because I was gathering the perfect ingredients. And then once I get, like, most of the ingredients, and I have them, they're, like, in my, like, witch's chest. But I didn't do it. Because once I got to the point, I was just like, it's not worth it anymore. I don't care. Not worth my energy. Because what if you do it and it brings that negative ass person right back to you? Then you got to deal with them again. Do you really want to deal with them again? Whatever this person or entity or association was that caused you problems, you want to bring them back to you because they might repel your magic, or they might like follow it like a trail and just like go to you. So just a thing to think about when you do like protection or revenge or prevention or like any type of magic that involves other people. Always be prepared that they're going to come at you. Just be like, who dis? Or just because if your energy touches them, like I've had people where I wouldn't be doing something related to them in any way. And because the magic would recognize them in some way, like it was we still had a connection. So it would call them to me, regardless of like my intention to call them to me. And when you do magic, if you're mad at someone and your intention is to get them back, they might just come to you because your magic still knows you and it might work in that manner. Maybe it wants you to resolve it in a personal way, or maybe it thinks that you're not through with the experience that you need. You're not through with the anger. You're not through with the passion, the hurt. You haven't learned your lesson completely. So they're going to bring it back to you. And until you can say no, then it's not going to like stop. It's not going to be like finished. And I think we forget that when we do magic sometimes. But with anger and other heavy emotion magic, like if you're doing something that is involving your emotion being really high and using that just energy from the way you feel, it can be very powerful, but it can be very volatile and it can be very dangerous. And you have to really watch when you do it. I honestly, if I do any of that, 99% of the time, I'm praying to a deity and asking them for help. And it's like, your mom doesn't have to help you. Dad doesn't have to help you. Your spiritual parent, that's what I'm calling your deities, your spiritual parent, because they're kind of watching you as you scramble around doing stupid things. Not that they don't do stupid things. Parents fuck up too, but they're the parents, so they're the ones that we go to like, oh no, and they have to, adult. Like, they don't have to help, but they might. It depends on the relationship you have. It depends on if they think, like, your parent might be like, oh, I'm going to go beat so-and-so's butt because they were messing with you. Or they can be like, look, just get over it. Or call their parent. Like, I don't know. That could work, too. I don't know if your deity is going to talk to their deity and be like, bruh, get your child under control. Throw hands. I don't think your deity's going to go to war with another deity for you, but I don't know. Maybe you have opposing deities and they just don't like each other already, so they just don't even need a reason. Like, they'll use you as a reason. I could totally see that in the Greek pantheon, like 100%. Like, how dare you, my child? I could see that. But, like, for the most part, I think just communicating and revealing your problems, even if they're not, like, specific, if you just say it, tell someone that you trust, whether that be your God, be a friend, or just a piece of paper, because then you are confiding in yourself. And you should feel heard when you're talking to yourself. If you're not listening to yourself, like, how can anyone else? So, like, write it down and express your anger in that way and move from there if you can't, like, function. if you're so mad you can't function and your response is to go to violence, which is what this person wanted to do. And it's like, no, I'm not commenting on violence. All I can say is, like, violence is probably not the answer. I'm not involved, so I'm not going to comment on that front. But be in control of yourself by starting to write things down. I write things down and then I move from there. If I'm still like, I can be past the anger and still be upset, because sometimes it's valid to not be okay. And it's valid to not be over something. And you can't let someone tell you it's not. Especially if people, like, ignore the problem or talk around the problem or point fingers and, like, don't point out all the issues. Like, I feel like if you make the problem valid and the person feels heard, they'll get over it faster. So maybe you just have to confide in yourself and work through it that way. Because sometimes, like, I often just get over it and move past it and do, like, a protection thing or a, hey, mom, like, hit them up with what they gave me, or do nothing. It's your problem. I'm giving you autonomy, the authority, whatever you get, you can do it. Here's what happened. You decide. Your judgment. You make it even, make it fair. I don't care. And then walk away. And you drop it. Just like you can do that with people. You can drop an emotion. It's not the most healthy solution to just let go of something. Sometimes you have to work through it first. You can't just release. Sometimes you need to feel it so that it's not like breaking and leaving pieces of itself behind to fester and to turn into something worse. No, you have to make sure it's a clean cut. Everything's gone. And I feel like that's a valid thing we should discuss in the community. All right. Thank you for joining me here on Sosa Checks. And this has just been a fun post about anger. I've been posting more on social media platforms like Facebook and Reddit, trying to find ideas. I have been given a couple ideas of things to talk about, and I've gotten a lot of ideas of things I want to talk about. It's hard with the pandemic and not being able to, like, invite people to my house, or not my house, but you know what I mean, like a space I feel comfortable in. So for me, it'd be like, well, friends I could invite to my house, but people to coffee shops and park and stuff to, like, do interviews. But I don't want to invite friends over if they're going to get, like, sick. So, but there's the whole pandemic. I am making a Patreon. It'll have updates and links in the descriptions once it's all done. And there will be an introduction video once it's finished. It'll help me to get new equipment and to fund trips in the future and other fun endeavors, helping to pay for me to, like, go places. That would be really neat. All right. Thank you for joining me on Sosa Checks. And how do you deal with anger? How do you deal with just intense emotion in general? Like, how do you cope? How do you get over it? How do you work through it? All right. Thank you. Bye.